Today we are going to discuss regarding systemic fungal infections. Okay. Good afternoon. Today we are going to discuss regarding systemic fungal infections. Systemic fungal infections include histoplasmosis, coccidioidomycosis, blastomycosis, cryptococcosis, candidiasis, aspergillosis, mucormycosis, porotrichosis, and paracoccidioidomycosis. Histoplasma. Histoplasma capsulatum is the infective etiological agent of the histoplasmosis. Mycelia are the natural infectious forms of the histoplasma, have a characteristic appearance with microconidial and macroconidial forms. Microconidia are oval and very small. Because of this small, these are easy to reach the terminal bronchioles and alveoli and initiate the infection. Epidemiology of the histoplasmosis. Histoplasmosis is the most prevalent endemic mycosis in the North America. Soil enriched with bird or bat droppings promote the growth and discorrelation of the histoplasma. Disruption of the soil containing the organisms leads to the realization of the microconidia and exposure of the humans nearby. Activities associated with the high-level exposure include the spelunking, excavation, cleaning of the chicken coops, demolition and rebuilding of the old buildings, and the cutting of the old trees. Pathogenesis. Pathogenesis in the immunocompetent host. Histoplasma infection causes the granuloma. This granuloma typically progresses into the fibrous and calcified mediastinal lymph nodes and hepatic splenic calcifications are found in healthy individuals from the endemic areas. In patients with immunosuppression, the infection can disseminate and leads to the progressive disseminated histoplasmosis, can involve the multiple organs, most commonly bone marrow, spleen, liver, adrenal glands, and mucocutaneous membranes. Clinical manifestations of the histoplasmosis. In immunocompetent individuals with low exposure, it causes most of the patients are asymptomatic or mild symptoms and symptoms are self-limited. When symptoms develop, they usually appear 1 to 4 weeks after infection. With heavy exposure, it leads to the flu-like illness with fever, chills, sweats, headache, myalgia, anorexia, cough, dyspnea, and chest pain. Lung manifestations include the pneumonitis with prominent hilar or mediastinal adenopathy. Pulmonary infiltrates may be focal or the diffuse. Rheumatological manifestations are the arthralgia, arthritis associated with the erythema nodosa. Cardiac manifestations are the pericarditis. Lymph nodes, the lymph nodal manifestations are the hilar or the mediastinal lymph nodes may undergo necrosis and coalesce to form the large mediastinal masses. These large mediastinal masses compress the great vessels, proximal airways, and the esophagus. These necrotic lymph nodes may also rupture and create the fistulas between the mediastinal structures. Immunocompromised patients' histoplasmosis can cause the progressive disseminated histoplasmosis. This spectrum of this progressive disseminated histoplasmosis ranges from the acute course with the diffuse interstitial or the reticular nodular lung infiltrates causing the respiratory failure shock, MODS, to the more subacute course with focal organ distribution. Hepatosplenomegaly is also common. Other findings may include the meningitis, focal brain lesions, ulcerations in the oral mucosa, GIT ulcerations, and adrenal insufficiency. Chronic cavitary histoplasmosis is seen in the smokers who have structural lung disease. Fibrosing mediastinitis is uncommon but serious complication of histoplasmosis. Major manifestations of the fibrosing mediastinitis is superior vena cava syndrome, obstruction of the pulmonary vessels, and airway obstruction. Diagnosis. Diagnosis of histoplasma is the fungal culture is the gold standard diagnostic test for the histoplasmosis. Culture specimens are bronchial lavage, bone marrow aspirate, blood, and sputum or bronchial washings. The detection of the histoplasma antigen in body fluids is extremely useful in the diagnosis of the PDH and acute diffuse pulmonary histoplasmosis. Serological tests also useful. That serological tests are immunodiffusion and complement fixation tests. Treatment of the histoplasmosis. Treatment of the histoplasma, acute pulmonary histoplasmosis, we should give amphotericin B and glucocorticoids for 1 to 2 weeks. Then we have to start then we have to start itraconazole for the 12 weeks. We should monitor the renal and hepatic function because amphotericin B is nephrotoxic and itraconazole is hepatotoxic. In case of chronic cavitary pulmonary histoplasmosis, drug of choice is itraconazole. We should give the at least 12 months. Progressive disseminated histoplasmosis, lipid amphotericin B is the drug of choice for 1 to 2 weeks, followed by the itraconazole at least for 12 months. CNS manifestations, we should give the amphotericin B for 4 to 6 weeks, then itraconazole for at least 12 months. Coccidioidomycosis. Coccidioidomycosis, also commonly known as the valley fever, is caused by the dimorphic soil dwelling fungi of the genus Coccidioides. Genetic analysis has been demonstrated the existence of the two species, that is the Coccidioides immitis, Coccidioides posidosi. Pathogenesis. The pathogenesis of the coccidioidomycosis, it produces the arthrochonidia. Arthrochonidia may become airborne for the extended periods. Because of their small size, they allows them to avoid the initial mechanical mucosal defenses and reach deep into the bronchial tree, where infection initiated and necrotizing granulomas in the host. Clinical manifestations of the coccidioidomycosis: out of infected people, 60% are completely asymptomatic. Remaining 40% have the symptoms that primarily related to the pulmonary infection. The pulmonary manifestations are the pleural effusion, pulmonary nodules, cavity. Cutaneous manifestations include the toxic erythema, erythema nodosum, erythema multiforme. Arthralgia and arthritis may develop. The diagnosis of the primary pulmonary coccidioidomycosis includes history of night sweats or profound fatigue, as well as by the peripheral blood eosinophilia, mediastinal or hilar lymphadenopathy, and chest radiography. CNS manifestations include the coccidioidal meningitis, present with chronic headache, which is sometimes accompanied with lethargy, confusion, and nuchal rigidity. Diagnosis of the coccidioidomycosis. The clues suggestive of coccidioidomycosis includes the peripheral blood eosinophilia, hilar or mediastinal lymphadenopathy on chest radiographs, marked fatigue, and failure to improve with the antibiotic therapy. Serological tests include the traditional tube precipitin test, complement fixation tests, immunodeficiencies, enzyme immunoassays. These are useful for the detect IgM and IgG antibodies. Cultures are useful for the diagnosing coccidioidomycosis. Treatment. Treatment for the coccidioidomycosis is triazole antifungals are the principal drugs. Treatment of choice. Amphotericin B is only for severe case of dissemination and for intrathecal or intraventricular administration to the patients with coccidioidal meningitis in whom triazole therapy has failed. Clinical presentation of the coccidioidomycosis. And according to the clinical presentations, we need treatment for diffuse pneumonia, that for chronic pneumonia, for disseminated disease, we should give prolonged oral triazole therapy. In case of meningitis, we have to give the lifelong triazole therapy. Blastomycosis. Blastomycosis is a systemic pyogranulomatous infection involving primarily lungs. It is due to etiological agent is blastomyces dermatitis. Pulmonary blastomycosis varies from an asymptomatic infection to acute or the chronic pneumonia. That hematogenous dissemination to the skin, bone, and the genitourinary system is common. Any organ can be involved. Clinical presentation of the blastomycosis. Acute pulmonary infection. Presentation may be abrupt onset of the fever, chills, cough, pleuritic chest pain, arthralgia, myalgias. Chest radiograph reveals the alveolar infiltrates with the consolidation. Chronic pulmonary infection present as indolent pneumonia with signs and symptoms of fever, weight loss, productive cough, and hemoptysis. The radiological findings of the alveolar infiltrates with or without cavitation, mass lesions that mimic the bronchogenic carcinoma, and fibronodular infiltrates. Hematogenous dissemination to the skin, bones, genitourinary tract occurs most often in association with chronic pulmonary disease. Immunosuppression is the major risk factor for the more serious pulmonary involvement associated with the miliary disease or diffuse pulmonary infiltrates. Skin disease is the most common extrapulmonary manifestation of the blastomycosis. Two types of skin lesions occur, verrucous and ulcerative. Osteomyelitis can occur in blastomycosis infection. Vertebrae, pelvis, sacrum, skull, long bones are the most frequently involved. In men, blastomycosis may involve the prostate and epidermis. CNS disease usually present as a brain abscess, has been reported in 40% case HIV. Less common forms of CNS disease are the cranial or the spinal epidural abscess and meningitis. Diagnosis of the blastomycosis. Cultures are the definitive diagnosis. It requires the growth of the organism from the sputum, bronchial washing spots, or biopsy material. Serological tests are useful that are complement fixation, immunodeficient, or immunodeficient. Blastomycosis antigen assay that detects antigen in urine and serum. Treatment for the coccidioidomycosis. Treatment for the blastomycosis. Treatment for the blastomycosis. Itraconazole is the agent of the choice for immunocompetent patients with mild to moderate pulmonary or non-CNS extrapulmonary disease. Therapy is continued for the 6 to 12 months. Amphotericin B is the preferred initial treatment for in severely immunocompromised and life-threatening disease or CNS disease or whose disease progressing during treatment with itraconazole. Treatment of blastomycosis, immunocompetent patient with life-threatening disease. Amphotericin B is the treatment of choice. Immunocompetent patient with a non-life-threatening disease, itraconazole is the drug of choice. If patient is not responding to the itraconazole, we have to give amphotericin B. All immune compromised patients with any infection, it is the amphotericin B is the drug of choice. Cryptococcosis. Cryptococcus is the etiological agent of the cryptococcosis. Cryptococcus neoformans and Cryptococcus gutti can cause the cryptococcus in humans. Clinical manifestations of the cryptococcosis. CNS manifestations usually present as signs and symptoms of the chronic meningitis, such as the headache, fever, lethargy, sensory deficits, memory deficits, visual deficits, cranial lobe paralysis, and meningismus. Also present as meningoencephalitis. Indolent cases can present as a subacute dementia. Pulmonary cryptococcus usually present as a cough, chest pain, and sputum production. Skin lesions are common in patients with disseminated cryptococcus, can be highly variable, including papules, plaques, purpura, vesicles, tumor-like lesions, and rashes. Diagnosis. Diagnosis of the cryptococcus, visualization of the capsule of the fungal cells in the CSF mixed with indeni is a usual rapid diagnostic technique. Culture is also useful for the cryptococcus. In cryptococcal meningitis, CSF examination usually reveals the evidence of the chronic meningitis with mononuclear cell pleocytes and increased protein levels. Particularly useful test is cryptococcal antigen detection in CSF and blood. Treatment for the cryptococcus. Two general patterns are present in cryptococcosis that are pulmonary cryptococcus and extrapulmonary cryptococcus. In immunocompetent patients, pulmonary cryptococcus treatment of choice is fluconazole. For extrapulmonary cryptococcus without CNS involvement, treated with the same as pulmonary cryptococcus, fluconazole. In severe cases of extrapulmonary cryptococcus, amphotericin B is the treatment of the choice. For CNS involvement, recommended initial therapy with amphotericin B during an induction phase, followed by the prolonged therapy with fluconazole during a consolidation phase. For cryptococcal meningoencephalitis, the recommended regimen is amphotericin B plus flucytosine daily for the 6 to 10 weeks. Patients with immunosuppression are treated with same as initial regimens, except that consolidation therapy with fluconazole is given for a prolonged period to prevent the relapses. For HIV patients with evidence of the CNS involvement, acceptable regimen is amphotericin B plus flucytosine for 2 weeks daily, followed with the fluconazole for at least 10 weeks, then by lifelong maintenance therapy with the fluconazole. Prevention of the cryptococcus. No vaccine is available for the cryptococcus. In patients at high risk, example with advanced HIV infection, CD4 count less than 200, primary prophylaxis with fluconazole is effective in reducing the prevalence of the disease. Candidiasis. Candida species are the human pathogens and ubiquitous in nature. They inhabit the GIT, female genital tract, and the skin. Clinical manifestations of the candidiasis are the mucocutaneous candidiasis and deep invasive candidiasis. Under mucocutaneous candidiasis, thrush is characterized by the white, adherent, painless, discrete or continent patches in the mouth, tongue, or the esophagus. Vulvovaginal candidiasis is manifest, characterized by the pruritus, pain, and vaginal discharge. Vaginal discharge, which is usually thin but in white, is curds in severe cases. The Candida skin infections include the paranoia, onychomycosis, intertrigo, balanitis, ratio interdistalis blastomycetica, folliculitis, perianal candidiasis, diaper rash, generalized disseminated cutaneous candidiasis. Chronic mucocutaneous candidiasis. It is a heterogeneous infection of the skin, hair, nails, and mucous membranes that persists despite intermittent therapy. It is usually associated with a specific immunological dysfunction. Most frequently reported is a failure of the T lymphocytes to proliferate or to excrete the cytokines in response to stimulation by the candida antigens in vitro. Chronic mucocutaneous candidiasis have the associated endocrine abnormalities that together are designated that autoimmune polyendocrininopathy, candidiasis, ectodermal dystrophy syndrome. Deeply invasive candidiasis. It results from the hematogenous seeding of the various organs as a complications of the candidemia. Once organism gains access into the intravascular compartment, it may spread hematogenously to the variety of deep organs. Brain, chorioretina, heart, and kidney are the most commonly infected. Liver and spleen less commonly affected. The diagnosis of the candida infection is established by the visualization of the pseudohyphia or hyphia on the wet mount, tissue gram stain, periodic acid shift stain, or methanamine silver stain in the presence of the inflammation. Treatment of the mucocutaneous candidal infections. For cutaneous, preferred treatment is topical azoles. Alternatives are the topical nystatin. Vulvovaginal oral fluconazole or the azole cream or suppository. Oral candidate example thrush, that is clotrimazole troches are useful. Esophageal candidiasis, fluconazole tablets are the hydroconazole solution. Agents for the treatment of disseminated candidiasis. Treatment of disseminated candidiasis, drug of choice are azoles. And for disseminated candidiasis, echinocandida is also approved. If patient is not responding, then amphotericin B is useful. Treatment of the candidiasis only. Removal of the infected valve and long-term antifungal therapy constitutes the appropriate treatment for the candida endocarditis. Hematogenous candida endophthalmitis is a special problem requiring ophthalmologic consultation. When lesions are expanding or life-threatening, threatening the macula, IV pollen combined with the flucytosine has been the regimen of the choice. Aspergillosis. Aspergillus fumigatus is responsible for the most cases of invasive, chronic, and allergic syndromes. Aspergillus flavus causes the high proportion of cases of sinus infection, cutaneous infection, and keratitis and the Aspergillus fumigatus. Aspergillus niger can cause the invasive infection, but more commonly colonizes the respiratory tract and causes the external otitis. Aspergillus terris causes the only invasive disease, usually with poor prognosis. Aspergillus nidulans causes the invasive infection primarily in patients with chronic granulomatous disease. Risk factors for the invasive aspergillus are profound neutropenia, glucocorticoid usage, chronic granulomatous diseases, relapsed leukemia, HIV infection, patients with prior pulmonary disease, therapy with infliximab, adalimumab, daclizumab, and rituximab. Clinical manifestations. Clinical manifestations of the aspergillosis. The lung manifestations include invasive pulmonary aspergillosis, tracheobronchitis, chronic pulmonary aspergillosis, aspergilloma, ABP, allergic bronchopulmonary aspergillosis, severe asthma with fungal sensitization, extrinsic allergic alveolitis. Sinus manifestations are the invasive sinusitis, chronic granulomatous sinusitis, maxillary fungal ball, allergic fungal sinusitis, eosinophilic fungal rhinosinusitis. Brain aspergillosis can cause the abscess, hemorrhagic infarction, meningitis, and granuloma in brain. It also causes the endocarditis and pericarditis. In eye manifestations include keratitis and endophthalmitis. In ear, it causes the malignant otitis externa. Disseminated aspergillosis, it occurs in immunocompromised patients. Aspergillus disseminates from the lungs to the multiple organs: brain, skin, thyroid, bone, kidney, liver, GIT, eye, and heart valve. Blood cultures in disseminated aspergillus are almost always negative. Diagnosis of the aspergillosis includes cultures are the important in confirming the diagnosis. Both antigen detection and real-time PCR are the faster and much more sensitive than the cultures of the respiratory samples and blood. The aspergillus antigen test relies on the detection of the galactoma released from the aspergillus organisms during growth. On HRCT scan, presence of the halo sign, in which a localized ground glass appearance representing the hemorrhagic infarction surrounding a nodule. It is also useful for the diagnosing aspergillosis. ABP and severe asthma. ABP and severe asthma with fungal sensitization are diagnosed serologically with elevated total and specific serum Ig levels and with skin prick tests. Treatment of the aspergillosis or the voriconazole is the preferred agent for the invasive aspergillosis. Caspofungin, posaconazole, lipid-associated amphotericin B are the second-line agents. For invasive disease, primary treatment is voriconazole and isavuconazole. Prophylaxis, posaconazole tablet and itraconazole solution. Single aspergilloma with surgery is the treatment of choice. Chronic pulmonary disease, itraconazole and voriconazole. ABP are severe asthma with fungal sensitization, itraconazole is the treatment of choice. Mucormycosis. Mucormycosis infection caused by the mucorales is most accurately referred to the mucormycosis. Rhizopus oryzae is the most common cause of the infection in the Western Hemisphere. Pathogens of the mucormycosis. These mucorales ubiquitous environmental fungi to which humans are constantly exposed. These fungi cause the infection primarily in patients with diabetes or defects in phagocytic function. Patients with elevated levels of the free iron, which supports the fungal growth in serum and tissues, are likewise at increased risk for mucormycosis. Clinical manifestations of the mucormycosis divided into at least 6 clinical categories based on the clinical presentation and the involvement of the particular anatomic site. That are rhino-orbital cerebral mucormycosis, pulmonary mucormycosis, cutaneous mucormycosis, GIT, disseminated and miscellaneous mucormycosis. Rhino-orbital cerebral mucormycosis is the most common form of the disease. It occurs in patients with diabetes and glucocorticoid usage. The initial symptoms include the eye or the facial pain and facial numbness, followed by the onset of the conjunctival suffusion and blurry vision. Fever may be absent in up to half of the cases. Onset of the signs and symptoms in the contralateral eye with resulting bilateral proptosis, chemosis, blurring of vision, ophthalmology is very dangerous, suggesting the development of the cavernous sinus thrombosis. Pulmonary mucormycosis, it is the second most common manifestation. Symptoms include the dyspnea, cough, chest pain. Angioinvasion results in the lobar consolidation, necrosis, cavitation, and hemoptysis. In the setting of the diagnosis of mucormycosis, it is difficult to differentiate from the aspergillosis. The presence of the more than 10 pulmonary nodules, pleural effusion, or concomitant sinusitis makes the mucormycosis more likely. It is very important to distinguish mucormycosis from the aspergillosis because the treatment for these infections are differ. Indeed, voriconazole, the first-line treatment for the aspergillosis, voriconazole exacerbates the mucormycosis. Cutaneous mucormycosis, it may result from the external implantation of the fungus or conversely from the hematogenous spread. Cutaneous disease can be highly invasive, penetrating into the muscle, fascia, and even bone. In mucormycosis, necrotizing fasciitis carries a mortality rate approaching 80%. GIT, gastrointestinal mucormycosis. It has been reported as a nosocomial process following administration of the medications mixed with contaminated urine applicator 6. Non-specific abdominal pain, distension associated with nausea and vomiting are the most common symptoms. GI bleeding is so common. Fungating mosses may be seen in the stomach endoscopy. Disseminated and miscellaneous forms of the disease that hematogeneously disseminated mucormycosis may originate from any primary site of infection. The most common site of dissemination is the brain, but metastatic lesions may also be found in any other organ. Miscellaneous forms of the mucormycosis may affect any body site, including the bones, mediastinum, trachea, kidney, and peritoneum. Diagnosis of the mucormycosis. Probable diagnosis of the mucormycosis can be established by the cultures from the non-sterile site. Biopsy with histopathological examination remains the most sensitive and specific modality for the definitive diagnosis. It reveals the characteristic wide, thick-walled, ribbon-like aseptate hyphal elements that branch at the right angles. Treatment of the choice is amphotericin B. Primary therapy for mucormycosis should be based on the Pauline antifungal agent, except for mild localized infection. That mild localized infection has been eradicated surgically in immunocompetent patients. Antifungal options for the mucormycosis is first line antifungal therapy or amphotericin B. Second line is isoconazole and posaconazole. Combination therapy is echinocandin plus lipid Pauline. Sporotrichosis. Sporothrix schenki is the etiological agent for the sporotrichosis. Epidemiology and pathogens. Sporotrichosis most commonly infects the person who participates in outdoor activities such as the landscaping, gardening, and tree farming. That is, sporotrichosis primarily localized infection of the skin and subcutaneous tissue that follows the traumatic inoculation of the conidium. Osteoarticular sporotrichosis is uncommon, occurring in middle-aged men who abuse alcohol. Pulmonary sporotrichosis occur almost exclusively in persons with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease who have inhaled the organism from the environment. Dissemination occurs rarely, almost always in markedly immunocompromised patients, especially those with AIDS. Clinical manifestations of the sporotrichosis. Initially, a papule develops at the site of inoculation. It usually ulcerates, but it is not very painful. Similar lesions develop sequentially along the lymphatic channels proximal to the original lesion. In some patients, only fixed cutaneous lesion may be present, that is, varicose or ulcerative, that is only localized and without lymphatic extension. That osteoarticular sporotrichosis can present as a chronic synovitis or septic arthritis. That pulmonary sporotrichosis with or without spread to the visceral organs are characteristic of disseminated sporotrichosis. Diagnosis is cultures are the useful for the diagnosing the sporothrix stinky. Histopathological examination of the biopsy material shows the tiny oval or cigar-shaped yeast. Serological tests are not useful. Treatment for the sporotrichosis is itraconazole is a drug of choice. Itraconazole, saturated solution of the potassium iodide, terbinafine are also. These three drugs are effective in treating the sporotrichosis. Pulmonary and osteoarticular forms of the sporotrichosis are treated with itraconazole for at least 1 year. Severe pulmonary infection and disseminated sporotrichosis that involving the CNS initially treated with amphotericin B, which is followed by the itraconazole. Lifelong suppressive therapy with itraconazole is required for the AIDS patients. Paracoccidiomycosis. That paracoccidiomycosis is caused by the Paracoccidioides brasiliensis. Paracoccidiomycosis develops after the inhalation of the aerolized conidia encountered in the environment. The clinical manifestations are two major syndromes. Acute are the juvenile form and the chronic or adult form. That acute form is uncommon one, occurs mostly in the presence in the persons less than 30 years old. It is manifested as a disseminated infection of the reticuloendothelial system. Immunocompromised individuals also manifest this type of rapidly progressive disease. chronic form is predominantly affects the older men. The primary manifestation is progressive pulmonary disease, primarily in the lower lobes with fibrosis, ulcerative and nodular mucocutaneous lesions in the nares and mouth, another common manifestation. Diagnosis of paracoccydomycosis is it is established by the growth of the organism in culture. A presumptive diagnosis can be made by the detection of the distinctive thick-walled yeast with multiple necked buds attached circumferentially in purulent metal at the tissue webs. Treatment options are the itraconazole, ketoconazole,